Amazon came through. Here's our new clutch unit. Belt guard. Belt. Got the small chain sprocket. Currently is the 4041 series on it now. I'll be swapping that out in the near future. Now, today I'm only going to bolt this onto the motor and put the cover on. I don't need to put the extra weight of the clutch on the motor at the moment. I'm just in the mock-up stage. Of course, the bolts that they send you aren't the right ones. Never fails. Not a big deal. I have 2 bolts here that'll work. I'll get the proper ones sometime in the near future. It's real important to take the time to figure out what bolt holes you want to use and where you want this positioned. Get them lined up just where you need them. I'm going to try to run this clutch up as high as I can get it. Kind of like this. You could actually position this way down lower, but I'm trying to keep it so I have as much ground clearance as possible. I'm just going to throw the guard on there because I'm looking to just mock this in place, get an idea of where it's going to sit. Once I put it in permanently, then I'll put the clutch completely together, get the right sprocket on it, those things. Now that I got it kind of on there, I'm going to clean this table off and get my mower up on this lift table so it's at an easier height to work on. Now that I've got the clutch on the motor, I have my mower up on my Harbor Freight lift table, which honestly guys, if you don't have one, this is the best 250 bucks you can spend. They're great. I use it on everything. 4-wheelers, dirt bikes, even my side-by-side. So I've switched back to a different motor just because it was kind of a parts motor almost. And it was already missing the ears on the top here, where the top plate would bolt. Somebody ground them off for some reason on a different project, so it gives me the clearance I need to get it as far close to the steering shaft as possible. So I'm trying to keep this motor as far forward because I'll be pretty much on the rear tires, and obviously weight transfer, I don't want it to wheelie super easy. I know it's going to, but so that's kind of it mocked in there. As you can see, I mean, it's got some steering left, but it goes right in between the engine. It'll stick out wise. It's out there a little bit. And then on this side, right now, I've got the belt forced off. Here, let me give some better light. I've got the belt forced all the way down into the clutch, so it's expanded as far as it can go. And I'm looking for, like, you know, about 1/4 of an inch of gap. And I'm going to actually take the belt guard, this belt guard here, I'm going to notch out the bottom corner to go around this tube. That way I can get it as far to the left as possible. Get this motor somewhat centered. It's not going to be 100% centered, but it's going to be a lot closer. And with the motor kind of in a rough place of where I want it, I kind of mocked up a seat bracket. It's going to go somewhere in this area, this general area. I got a tube that's resting on the axle just kind of to hold it upright until I weld it in place. With that there, we can check chain. And as you see, reach up in here and grab it. I'll be just clearing that loop. That's kind of what I wanted to check. Of course, well, you can't see it, but the sprocket hits the keyway that's built into the shaft just fine. And now that I know that'll clear, I'm probably going to weld that tube into place so I don't have to use my bracket to hold it upright. But before I do that, I got to take some measurements. And the measurements that I'm going to take are going to be from right here on the edge of my motor. I'm going to measure over to just the edge of my tube, which is looking like 6 5/8. So and then I'm also going to measure off my front, back. And I'm looking at, I'm probably going to go 13 inches. So now when I pull the motor out, so with the motor out, I'm going to run a tube 13 inches towards the back and 6 5/8 out. And then I'm going to run a piece of angle iron from here right to the front of the chassis. And that's going to give me my 2 bolt holes for my left-hand side. And then I'll probably run another piece of angle iron up here to give me 2 bolts for my right-hand side. And probably I'll run one more tube across the front. But we'll see how much flex it's got in here. Maybe I'll just run one tube off to this side to just give a little bit more support. So I've made a quick decision, and instead of starting welding the motor plates in, I don't have any tubes in the back here other than this just kind of holding it space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld in my seat mount, and that's going to make sure everything stays square, and I don't have to worry about it as I'm mocking up the motor mounts. I've already done some measuring. I figured out where I want it front to back. My chassis is level right now. This seat mount's level, both directions. So I'm just going to weld it in, and then I don't have to worry about my actual frame flexing in or out, twisting, any of that. all welded in. Now I know my chassis is going to be perfectly square from here on out. There'll be no flexing, any more welding that I do. So now I'm going to get the hood out of the way. Just a couple of C-clamps. And I'll actually take the steering wheel with it because I kind of got it zip tied together. Now I've got room to work. Start grabbing some material and get going. So I've taken the time to build my motor plate. I actually changed it around just a little bit. Here's the sliders. So my engine's got movement to keep the chain tight. Originally I was going to do this angle iron all the way up to the very front, but there's really no need. Just more stuff to get in the way of the steering. So I came up with this design. And as you're looking at my project, if you see odd grinds like this, it's because I took two pieces of tubing and made them one longer one. I'm using whatever scrap I got laying around. I'm not looking to spend a lot to build this. But yeah, the plan is just kind of weld this in place. I've already taken quite a bit of measurements to make sure everything's square and perfect. And yeah, I'm going to burn this in, set the motor on it, and motor mount is done. It gives me tons of room for adjustment. That way, if I need to keep the motor up front, I can. If not, I can come back. You know, that's almost 3 inches there. It's going to work out real good. But like I said, I'm going to burn this all in and come right back. That all burned in. It's going to work out perfect. Grab the motor, throw it back up on here. I had a couple bolts in there already, so give it a wiggle and then it falls right in place, and just as I wanted it. My seat bracket all on now. Gotta get a carriage bolt for that. Really starting to take some shape. Next is on the next episode, I'll probably start mounting the hood, getting that kind of positioned where I want. I'm thinking about making a frame for the inside of the hood to hold the steering so I can pivot it. Till the next video, guys.